So let's set aside the useless GOP and bring in the very much not useless Carol Roth. Carol Roth, author of the book You Will Own Nothing. Carol, by the way, you need to pre-order that book, You Will Own Nothing. I don't even think it's out yet. I'm sure it's freaking awesome. And Carol, you owe me a copy. Carol, before we get to You Will Own Nothing, what does it mean, this 0.25 bump today? What am I supposed to take from this?
So this is very much, it's not bad news or good news. It just was expected news. And I think the overall takeaway is that the Fed has just hiked rates in a very historic manner over the last 14 months. And all of the havoc that they've created in the economy leading up to this point, they're now creating it on the other side. So the market believes that this may be the last time that the Fed hikes rates for some time, that maybe they will pause and just hold it there for a while. The Fed has given some indication that they might possibly consider it a little bit more than they did the last time, but they still remain dependent on the data. And unfortunately, a lot of the data conflicts with itself. There's still obviously inflation that is running far too high, but there are other things like, a minor banking crisis, Jesse, that are creating issues for the Fed. So they're going to have to navigate that territory. The market's going to do everything they can to bully the Fed into pausing, but the Fed, seems to have its own agenda depending on the day. So we'll see where it goes. But, at the end of the day, the big takeaway here is that the Fed screwed this up royally in the beginning. They're still screwing up royally, and we have to stop letting central planners play God and create some accountability. I'm hearing nowhere in the corporate press calls for, hey, we need to retract the Fed's powers. Look at all of the things that they've done. Look at all of the destruction that their policy has caused. Unfortunately, that narrative you can only find here in places like Jesse Kelly's show.
It's so true. You know what? I'm nervous about something, Carol, because, I combine these two things. The Fed comes out, they raise rates a little bit today, and then, of course, they leak out there. I don't think we'll do it again. I don't foresee another one. Maybe. Who knows? We might do it. And then Joe Biden coming out talking about how hunky-dory everything is.
These actions are going to make sure that the banking system is safe and sound.
The American banking system is really safe and well capitalized. It's resilient.
Carol, you know what I hear? You know what I hear when I hear that kind of talk? You know what I hear? I hear, banks, please don't close, we're fine. That looks like propaganda to me, so banks don't panic, so depositors don't make a run on the banks. That's what I hear. Am I crazy?
You're definitely not. These are the same people who brought to you, there will be no inflation. Inflation is transitory. Bread lines are a great way to meet your neighbors, whatever it is. Yeah. And this is the latest installment in their discussion. We heard the same thing from Fed Chair Powell during the presser today. The banking system is stable. But just days ago, we had another major bank collapse. We've had 3 of the 4 largest bank collapses, within the last couple of months here. So the idea to say that we have this wonderful stability in the banking system when we still have the big issues that the Fed has created here overhanging, and then potentially the contagion that could be happening in commercial real estate, in corporate debt, with continuing bankruptcies of corporate companies. We have all kinds of things that can lead to a further crisis. So I agree with you. I think this was a fairly weak attempt to quell the population and say, please don't pull your money out of the regional banks. But unfortunately, if you are not protected, by the way, under FDIC limits in a bank, or if you're with a credit union with NCUA, you need to go in and make sure that you move things around, whether it's between different accounts or different financial institutions, so that you have that protection, because they probably will end up raising those limits, but you don't want to be caught in the fallout. And I do believe, Jesse, there's going to be more fallout.
What kind of fallout?
More banks, there are going to be more banks that go under. So let's just take commercial real estate for a second. I mean, last time around it was residential real estate, but now we have half of the mortgages on commercial real estate that are coming due within the next 2 years. The worst segment of that is obviously office space. We have people who aren't going back to the office. Almost a quarter of that needs to be refinanced this year when people aren't coming back at much, much higher rates. I mean, that equation, the math doesn't really balance out for me.
Oh, you're wounding me, Carol. All this news is horrible, and it's all true. Gosh,
this is
what
not
sucks.
me. This is the federal government, and this is the Fed, and this is their negligent, destructive monetary and fiscal policy. I'm just explaining it to you. Sorry.
Oh, gosh. All right, you know what? We're moving on past this to more horrible news. The World Economic Forum, because this is going to lead us right into your book, talking about how millions and millions, specifically 83 million jobs are going to be lost because of AI. Carol, my dad doesn't even know what AI is. Why are we losing jobs to it? What's going on?
I think that when you see the World Economic Forum and you see the people who are connected with them, the elite business people, the elite political people, and they're telling you things like, we predict by 2030 that you will own nothing, that private property will just go away, or that the robots are going to take all of your jobs. It's not just a prediction. They have people who are trying to carry these visions into their relevant places, within the political and business spheres. And so it's really crazy. I think it all comes back to the fact that we are on this precipice of a new financial world order, that all these elite are trying to jockey to control all the resources. And certainly when you think about private property, individual rights, tech is a huge piece of that. I mean, the fact that you might not own your identity, that AI is training on stuff that belongs to us, whether it's our voices or the content we produce, but there is no intellectual property protection around that right now. I do think that that's a big piece of the you will own nothing story. And I love how the WEF just throws it out there as if they're not planning for this, jockeying to make sure they come out all on top, and again, leave you with nothing in the process.
Carol Roth, if you would like to know more about the plans for you, go pre-order her book, You Will Own Nothing. The World Economic Forum, I have no doubt, gets a mention or two in there. Carol, thank you, ma'am.
And Jesse Kelly does as well. It's a 1-2 punch. It's the plan and the plan to fight back. Jesse Kelly's on the fight back side.
Carol, I appreciate you. All right, enough of that. Enough fun.
Support the First TV today and get instant access to exclusive specials like Who is Ron DeSantis, The History of FBI Scandals, and America's Worst Presidents. Visit thefirsttv.com/support or download the First TV app to become a supporter and start watching today.